Good evening, my friends. How's it going? Hey, Sue. Hey, Nadja, Mats. Guten Abend, god kväll, and good evening. That sounds like cabaret in the beginning. No, it's willkommen. No, sorry, that's kind of the same. I hope everyone's had a good week and almost had a good start to the year. I mean, it has been a good start to the year, right? Has it? Yeah, I think so. I feel so, at least. In many ways. Some things a bit strange have happened, but like on a personal level, I hope it's been for you at least. And it's nice to see when there's a new year. For some reason, it feels like it's starting like a new, even though there's no difference. But there's this idea that there's a calendar year and then you start something new. There's a freshness for that, like that we can actually get in a fresh start. I think, at least. What about you? Have you had a good start? Have you had a good week? Good start to the week? No, wait, it's Thursday today. So I think we have a good middle start to the week. Hey, Stephen. Chinese New Year. Year of the Snake. What does that mean? I'm not... I know they all mean something, but I'm not sure. Hey, Christian. I have this thing I'd like to give you to think about, because I don't know if you saw, but I did an interview for a Dutch magazine, or an online magazine, I think it is. I said, what do you think about tattoos? I'm thinking about getting some. I just spoke to my fiance about this earlier today, because she has a tattoo, and she asked, have you ever thought about getting a tattoo? And when I was younger, it sounds so silly now, but when I was younger, I'd be cool with that tattoo, but what if I become a model? Then I'd have a tattoo and I'd have to cover. No, I think it's bad. And now when I'm 47, I think the modeling career is not really where my calling lies, but it's, I don't know. I've always had this thing about tattoos that I never really felt like I wanted to do one. I mean, partly it would be nice in one way. I think I always changed so much that it would be strange to tattoo something. I almost did when I was in India. I'm so glad I didn't do that. I was into Reiki before I was a monk, and I was traveling in India. And there's a symbol. It's like that, something like that. It's like a note kind of in a circle. And I thought, I'm going to tattoo that on my arm. And the girl I was traveling with, and she said, don't do that. You're going to regret that later. And she was right. I would have regretted that later, so I'm happy I didn't do that. But by all means, if it's something that you feel you're going to carry with you for the rest of your life, like the current girlfriend you've been together with for a month, that's the perfect thing to tattoo onto your arm, I think. Just kidding. They don't get tattoos, Buddhists. I didn't know that. Well, actually, I've heard that somewhere. Why is that? Do you know? Mats, I did have a good middle start of the week. Met a new friend, and she's finally getting me to try a yoga course. Nice. Yoga is really good for you in so many ways. Nadja, I read the article, Martin. It was great. We got a shout out too. Thank you. Yeah, the group. I talked about the group. I'm going to get to what I was going to say about the interview. Wait, sorry. Excuse me. So Chinese New Year is the third week in January. It's a feasting time, celebration with dragon dances and good food. There is a rotation of animals which signify different years to the Chinese. Oh yeah, that's true. There's the animal thing. So what I wanted to say was that when I did this interview, it's really interesting, because you who are coming here regularly know what I stand for and what I talk about more than most people. And my fiance I've lived together with for 9 years, she understands it, but except for me, I think she's the one who actually understands what I'm saying, and sometimes she understands it better than I, because she hears it from a different perspective. And when I was doing the interview, I found so many things that I had said that, and when we were talking, I had to keep coming back to things, because how we are taught of what gives us happiness and what makes us enjoy life is completely contradictory to what I say in many ways. not contradictory, but it kind of misses the point. And it's almost like there's a layer behind that we just don't talk about because we assume certain things. And it's very, very difficult for people to see outside of what we believe is the way to become happy or enjoy life. And I'll give you an example. Shout out to China. So Stephen. So a lot of people will like, if you say, what am I going to do with my life to enjoy it? And you say, like, do what makes you happy. Like that seems like such a reasonable thing to ask. Like, you should look for what makes you happy. And then you follow that kind of, that's what you should do. And most spirituality does that also. Find your passion. Find the thing you really need to do in this world to make you happy, kind of. And what I'm saying is that all of those things are good. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And I highly recommend you to look for things that you enjoy doing and that makes you feel like you're contributing something in the way that you want to contribute. There's no right or wrong here. Whatever you feel that you want to give to the world is what you should do. Camera focus is going crazy. Oh, maybe if I sit, I don't know. Sorry, Mats, I don't really know what to do about it. It's been acting weird. I'm gonna have to look into why it does that. I have it on like locking onto my face, but apparently it's not working when I do a live stream. It only works when I record. Let's see where I was. I am so bad at keeping track of my thoughts. Yes, we believe that we need to find what we're supposed to do to become happy. And what I'm saying is that happiness is not because of something. Happiness is a choice. It's something, and the idea that you could choose to be happy sounds so weird, because you couldn't just choose to be happy, then you're faking it. Are you talking about positive thinking? No, because positive thinking says, say life is really rough, and right now we don't have any money, and we're really struggling to make it work. Then you can say, oh, it's okay. This too shall pass. This will change. And in the future, it will become better. And something will be different. And so we're going to earn lots of money. Or because of this, we're going to find our calling and then start making really good money. And we're going to help so many people. That's positive thinking, meaning that you believe that the hardship is going to give you something better in the future. That is not the same as choosing happiness. The idea that you can actually, except for drugs, even if drugs makes you happy, don't do it. I agree with you there, Stephen. Don't do drugs. Drugs are bad. Don't do drugs. The idea that we can choose happiness, it's so ingrained in us that even spirituality that claims to kind of go beyond this, like believes that we need to do something or change something, and then we will become happy. We need to kind of find something that we do, even like I said, like find what makes you happy. That saying just makes so much sense. But the idea that you don't need to do that you actually could choose to be happy for no reason other that you choose to be happy. That goes together with what I'm trying to do when I do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. I've basically taken a very common method that is used in psychology and just like in general mindfulness to bring you to the present moment, and kind of taking it a step further to really make sure you don't interpret what you see, but really just observe your senses and enjoy your senses. Because when you enjoy what you're experiencing through your senses, not the story of it, not like, oh, this is a microphone, but really start to see that reality is beautiful. It's beautiful to look at whatever you look at. Like when you really see the way that I'm trying to get you to see, and this is something that comes and goes. It's not that we do it all the time, but everyone has gone through, especially if you're here. I mean, you have had this. It will be more interesting to look at the floor, the carpet on the floor, than watching the grand, spectacular Hollywood movie when you're not in this way of observing, relating to the world. Because you're observing the raw input of your senses without the self going in the way, distorting it and putting in like, I like, I don't like, this is good, this is bad, this is cheap, this is expensive, this is in alignment with what I believe in or not. It's just observation through the senses, and that is inherently enjoyable. So by doing that, it makes it easier to go into the it's not really a state. It's more like a non-state, lack of state, where you just observe without a state. And there's no sense of you there creating a pressure towards what you're observing. And then this joy or happiness just comes out. And that is a choice. It's not you become happy because it's the same thing here. Like we believe, okay, we're going to go out. I had one guy in particular, I remember, who, where was that? This was in Nilambi in Sri Lanka. So he came to me and we spoke quite a bit, and he was, I would like to say that he was Polish, but I don't remember. Eastern Europe somewhere. Really like strong guy, like not beefy, but like really muscular, good looking, working with the earth and like cutting down trees. And he kind of came to me and said like, but I just want to know what to do. Can someone just tell me what to do? If I just knew what to do, I would do it. If you would tell me, go out into the forest, chop down trees for 1 year and don't do anything else and just build cottages for the homeless, I would do that. I just want to know what makes me happy. I completely lost what I was talking about. I'm sorry. I think my fever is getting to me. What was I trying to say? Oh, yes. Okay, I got it now. Sorry, I apologize. I'm not really here. So his belief was, I'm going to go out. I'm going to do something really tough that's going to suck. But I will go through it with power in my heart and belief in my teacher. And I will do it, and then I will be rewarded with happiness. See, that's a fallacy. It's not that you do something difficult and then you become happy. It's that you allow yourself to be happy, meaning you have to train how to allow yourself to be happy, because we can't. Like most of us sitting here right now, if I tell you, just enjoy being here, just enjoy feeling happy, just feel good. It's really that easy. And you say, no, I cannot. No, because this happened here, this happened there. And like, oh, if you know what they did to me, if you really knew what they did to me, that would be terrible. Or if you know what, and we have all these reasons, and I'm not saying this is not true. I'm not trying to belittle your struggles or what your life story is. I'm just saying that doesn't mean that you cannot enjoy your life. We just have this idea that we kind of cannot, because look at what's happening to my life. Instead of, oh, it's a choice. I can choose it. So practice, and like most spiritual practices see it this way. It's that I do something difficult, and then I'll be rewarded by my practice, and then I'll feel happy. Whereas I'm saying, it's not that you will be rewarded, it's that you need to learn how to enjoy life. And you say, I cannot, it's difficult. I know. I've been doing this for a long time. It's difficult. It sucks. The mind keeps telling us, and the body keeps telling us, our distortion towards the world keeps saying, like, no, I want to have that. If I would only have this, if I could just have that. That's just how it is. So going beyond that, that's the real practice. It's not even this meditation. We don't, like, what we do here is not, I mean, you wouldn't need to do that. It's just that it helps because you will train your mind, bhavana, practicing and strengthening the mind so that you can actually observe and see, hey, wait a minute, there's something going on here. And I'm trying specifically to teach you certain ways of observing what's happening inside of you. Wide area of focus, not looking at something that creates more separation. We're looking for a sense of openness, of not creating this distortion towards things, and we're doing different things to see them more clearly. We're trying to learn, how do we see the smallest nuances of our senses? See, I've seen people writing stuff. Steven is on about drugs. Special events. Mats, what is the difference between happiness and contentment in your mind? I'm unsure. That happiness is my default state. Might be splitting hairs though. That's also like, so for instance, happiness is not the same as fun. Having fun is not happiness. Happiness is just that feeling of, I always, like, in a way, I'm not even sure happiness is the right word, but it's the best I can come up with that's easy to say. It's what I mean is that feeling of, there's a bit of contentment in that, absolutely, because contentment is within happiness. Happiness means that I don't need to change where I am right now. At least I'm trying to describe what it's like to experience this, not the actual word doesn't really matter. So you feel content. You don't feel like you need to change the world to feel better, because what happens is we feel discomfort and we feel, oh, this sucks. I'm going to go out and make change in the world because of this feeling inside of me. When you feel happy, when you feel content, there's not this feeling, oh, this sucks, I'm going to go out and change it. And we then believe, oh, if I didn't have that, I wouldn't do anything. That is false. That is not true. And if you've ever experienced what it's like to feel content and happy, you'll realize that you can still do stuff. It's just that you don't hinge your happiness on how your actions turn out. It's basically the don't look for the goal, but search for, it's the journey, it's not the goal. That's kind of that saying, but like much less precise. So I agree with you, and the words aren't important much. It's the feeling that's important, but it's important because we communicate and we're trying to understand this. So then basically what I'm saying, don't get too caught up in the words, but I agree with you. It sounds similar, but for me, happiness and contentment are very similar, because happiness contains contentment, and contentment contains in many ways the happiness that I'm talking about. Even better than happiness would be to say there's a feeling of being in a good mood. When you're in that mode that I'm talking about, you just feel like you're in a good mood. There's a solidness. It's like your whole body is not vibrating. It's just here. When you speak, there's no fear. There's no worry of, oh, how will people perceive what I'm saying, or how will they think about me? And you make up, you laugh, not because you actually find it funny, but because you're nervous. You need to kind of brush it over with a laugh, like this, and kind of like, it's just you. It doesn't matter what people think about you. You just give your opinion as much as you can. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong, and that's okay. Nadia, I have lost my religion again recently. The article made me feel better about things, about acceptance of the now and choosing joy. I'm happy to hear that, Nadia. Remember, yeah. Sue, some of my granddad's words to me was to find a job I liked and you'll feel like you've never worked a day in your life. In memory to this legacy, that's exactly what I did. He was right. So, again, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with doing things you like. I mean, absolutely don't go out and look for things that suck. That's kind of the raw, the hardcore spiritual people. That's how they get into relationships. They get into a relationship that sucks because that gives them so much shadow work and mirroring to work with, so they will grow so much that they go into a relationship that there's this like, and then, oh, it's because I want to. So no, I don't recommend that. And I agree with your grandfather. Like, if you do that, then you won't feel like you work because you're doing something you find fun. But that doesn't mean that you have to wait until you do that before you feel happy. So I'm not saying against do whatever makes you feel happy and work towards it. Absolutely, I think you should lean towards it. I mean, that's what I'm doing. That's why I'm talking to you, because I enjoy this. I like talking to you about these things. I have a fever, I'm tired, I would just want to go to sleep. I've had a cold for a long time, my back hurts, everything hurts. But still, when I was inside, I was like, oh, yeah, I'd like to go to sleep. I'm so looking forward to go and sit here. It's going to be nice to sit down, and I'm going to enjoy the meditation, and I'll enjoy talking to you. I'm looking forward to it because I enjoy it, so it doesn't feel like work. So I'm not saying against that. What I'm saying is don't hinge your happiness on finding that, because you're lucky. I mean, I've talked to you and I know that you do what you love. You're very passionate. Most people are not like that with their jobs. That's quite unique, and you're very lucky to have found that. Or maybe not even lucky. You're very fortunate to have dared to follow what you believe in and done that, and that makes it easier to be happy. Absolutely. But other people who haven't, if they would then think, if I would only be like Sue, then I could be happy. Mats, the default joy feels different in quality to me than the joy of having a fun partying, exactly. One feels equanimous, the other one exciting. Yeah, and like I said, fun is like, woohoo, I'm having a good time, this is fun. Happiness is more a feeling of joy or contentment. I like that, actually. I haven't thought about that before. definitely the happiness I'm talking about contains contentment. Stephen, I find happiness in serving others. That's also something that's very nice. But what I also see many times is that people go too far into it, and they believe they need to help others because they're obliged, or they have to do to get a better next lifetime, or they feel so much distortion when they see other people suffer that they help from that distortion, meaning that they need something from them. They're not just unselfishly helping. I mean, it is an unselfish action, but there's a strong sense of self that needs to feel better with the person you're trying to help, because if they don't get better, well, then you feel bad. And if you've ever, I have invested yourself into someone who's really bad and they don't get better, then you'll feel worse, and then you won't be able to help other people. So the important thing is to do it from a place of, I feel happy, and from that happiness I help. Not, oh my goodness, I hurt so much, I'm gonna help. I mean, that's better than, I am hurt, I'm gonna go out and hurt other people. Then absolutely, Stephen, go out and help other people. I mean, I'm not saying don't help other people. I hope you're getting the nuances. And this is exactly what I meant with the interview. It's difficult getting these things through, because when people hear things like that, it's very easy to think, oh, so you're saying I shouldn't do what I love. No, that's not what I'm saying. Oh, I shouldn't help. No, that's not what I'm saying. There's another nuance to it. Stephen, I am the same. Sue, fun passes very quickly. Contentment is a long-lasting inner feeling. Yeah, contentment feels calmer somehow, right? Mats, I get what you mean. Thanks. Mindful Mama, good evening, everyone. Hi, Mindful Mama. Sue, hey, Mindful Mama, hope you're okay. I missed you on Monday. Oh, that's nice. Shall we sit? Like I said, it's man. I'm going to be interviewed by another YouTuber next week who has her own channel, and it's more towards a spiritual thing. And I've been watching her live streams and her videos, and I find it really fascinating to see how other people approach this. And when I left being a monk, I was really in agitation with many other people's practices, because I thought, hey, why are they doing this? They're missing the point. And I had a lot of distortion towards that. And it's very nice now, and I can see, oh, I really get what they're doing, and I can understand how they can see that. But I can also see, hey, there's more to it. There's like more stuff to what we do than what might seem to be the truth to begin with. I mean, at least that's my opinion. You might think I'm completely crazy, and whoever her viewers are might think that also. And that's why it's important to really see that everyone in their mind is right. Everyone has their own thoughts about why they do what they do. And you cannot, I've always said, I only preach to the choir. I never try to convince someone or forcibly make them believe something they don't want to believe, because why? Like, I don't need them to change their mind. If you hear me saying what I said now and you say, oh, is that what he's talking about? Well, he's an asshole. I'm not going to listen to him anymore, because this is what I believe in, I don't agree with this, then that's fine. Whereas if it would have been me 10 years ago, especially when I started being a monk, I would, oh no, maybe did I say something wrong? Did I offend someone? Oh, I want to serve others, and I don't want to hurt them, and I'm worried they're going to be offended. And you just share what you believe in, and some people will like it, some people will not. Some people will be helped from it, and some people might even be hurt from it. We don't know. But as long as you do it from a place of contentment, of happiness, of really trying to help others, then that's the best place you can go from. Let's see. Hey, my mama, hope you're okay. Good evening, my mama. Thank you, Sue. I'm doing fine. Can't always make it to the meetings. Sometimes I'm too tired to sleep. Yeah, I get that feeling. Something to do with small children. How you doing? Well, too. Well, let's see. For those of you who are new, we usually start with a bit of a chat like this before. And then we do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is a way of coming back to our senses, of really observing with our senses without us in the way distorting what's between us. And I think the main thing is to really try to enjoy your experience. when we do these things, it's not that we try to put labels on good and bad. We really try to feel, oh, I'm looking, like, I'll give you an example. My son, we say 5 things we see, 4 things we can feel, 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can taste, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing we can taste. And the whole idea is to enjoy what you're seeing. And we have all these ideas of what we can't or cannot enjoy. So I'll go into that more. Then we'll see 20 minutes. Today's Thursday, so there's no guidance. And after that, we can have a few questions if there's time for it. But we have this idea that we need to see something beautiful to feel joy, right? But I remember, I think it was, my son is 2.5 now, maybe a year ago or half a year ago, I don't remember. My daughter who's 6 now, by the way, was sitting in the bathroom and she was pooping. And he was standing behind her, looking into the toilet, eating a cookie or something, looking at her pooping, like as she was pooping. And then he saw me and like, Papa, look, Papa, look. He was just eating his cracker, watching poop. And we say, ew, oh, we can't watch that. That's disgusting. Imagine the smell and everything. Because we have this idea that that's not, when you see that, you should go, ooh, you should feel, oh, this is disgusting. I shouldn't watch that. Or we should have some kind of aversion towards it. And we have all these things that we push against, that we like, okay, I cannot feel joy. And it's so easy to then feel like, and it's not that you enjoy what you're seeing, because again, we're not enjoying the story. But what we're trying to do is just something happening. And then you choose what you want to do about it. If you want to go in and change something about the thing you're seeing, then you should do that. But then you're not doing it because, oh, I feel so bad, I need to go in and change. If I would see someone hitting a child on the street, I would very likely go up and try to stop them. But at the same time, I also know if I try to stop them, what's going to happen when they go home and they've had a stranger interrupt them on the street, embarrassing the parent? The parent would think, or whoever hit them, and it might get even worse. Am I actually helping them? I could think, instead of just reacting and going in and trying to stop it, maybe I would write down the license plate of their car or try to see where they're going so I could contact the authorities and they could look into it. In other words, we don't just blindly follow our emotions and just go and act out of anger or jealousy or fear. We actually have the ability to stop and think, like, what do I want to do? And you're still enjoying being here, even though there's something difficult happening. You're not enjoying what's happening, you're enjoying being alive. And that is something you can always do. So I'm DPIG. Well, thank you. I'm DPI. Maybe that means good, I'm assuming. I don't know. So yeah, 5 things we can see. I hope that makes sense, by the way, when I'm saying these things. I try to make other examples to make it clear what I'm trying to say. 5 things I can see. I can see a daimo. Really fun thing. That's fun. There's lots of contentment when I look at that, because I can write out things. It's a lot of fun. And when you look at it, we see the shapes, the textures, the lights, the structure of it, the way it curves. There's like lots of lines on it. I see a electrical outlet. And I say electrical outlet, but what I'm really seeing is these lines. There's a curvature, there's a reflection from this side, a shadow from the top, and it curves around. There's a small light there. I see you. I see you sitting there on a cushion, on a chair, in the bed. You're wearing a blue shirt. Just kidding. I see a box. And I can see the colors, again, the texture, the curvature. And I see a fire extinguisher. It's very red. when you're really observing the way I'm talking about, there's a feeling of freshness. It's like you haven't seen it before, because we don't recognize things in the same way, meaning the feeling of recognition isn't there. It's like you're seeing it for the first time, because familiarity is a feeling of recognition. It's a distortion towards a thing, like, oh, I already know what this looks like. I don't need to look at it. But when you're really looking at it, it's like, oh, that's what it looks like. And it's like you've never seen it before. You know it's there. You're not dumb, like lost your memory or anything. It's just that it feels like it's fresh. It's new. That's why the world seems so beautiful when you're observing the world like this. Next, let's see, 5 things we could see, 4 things we can feel. I can feel the hairs on my arm. What does that feel like to touch yourself like that? I can feel the paper. And when I feel it, I can feel the chalkiness of my hands. I can feel it's a little bit moist because I had to blow my nose there before. I can feel this tube. Sometimes it's easier even to close your eyes when you're feeling, because then you have less distractions and you can feel easier. And I can feel the warmth of the tea. So those are 4 things that I could feel. 3 things that I can hear. I can hear a fan kind of ticking. There's rain or dewdrops from there somewhere. And when you're listening to the sounds, again, we're not just saying, oh, it's raindrops, but what does that sound like? Can you hear the echoing, like when it's falling on something? Is it hard? Is it short? Does it sound like there's like a boominess to it? Does it come at once, or is it more like really being interested in what your senses are presenting you of the world? I can hear someone screaming or someone yelling over there, which is not common here. A girl. 2 things that we can smell. These senses are something that we just don't use that often, but let's see. I can smell lemonade from my throat pastille. There's a stuffiness smell in here. A little bit like it's been closed all day. And finally, one thing that you can taste. Oh, lemon. It's quite in my face. feel free to keep on sitting if you feel like it, or drink a cup of tea. If anyone has any thoughts or things that happen in their meditation, you're welcome to share them. I thought I'm not going to make it too late today, but we can sit for another few minutes if you like it. Does anyone have any thoughts on what we spoke about before? I'm really curious to hear. Let's see, Matt said, I tried something new today. Every time I came back to my breath, I welcomed myself back warmly. Kind of difficult to describe because of the sense of self. I welcome myself back warmly. Kind of. I like that. I like how that feels when you say it. There's I did something. I remember I did something for a while where every time I came back, because there's a tendency to like, oh, I drift off into thoughts. I was supposed to stay with my breath. Or I forgot to stay with the breath, and it feels like a disappointment, like you failed somehow. And I changed that, and I thought, actually, it's the other way around. The way to get good is to come back, like over and over and over again. And the more you do that, the clearer the stronger your meditation is going to be. And so instead of punishing myself for thinking like, oh, I'm doing a poor job, I should be able to stay for this amount of breath cycles, but I cannot. Then I thought, oh, good. I did something nice. Like basically what you're saying, like I felt warm, like I felt good, like I succeeded. I realized that I drifted off. I think that can be a really good way of coming back. I see JVB. Is non-duality really a big deal? Why is there so much talk about it? I think non-duality, when I left and became a monk, non-duality was not really that big. It was, it existed, but it was not like it is today. I think this is just me speculating, because when I came back and I started hearing these people who are non-dual, like, wow, there's like this whole group of people, and they were all like liberated, living without the sense of self, and like, this is incredible. And then I started listening to them, like, wait a minute, what are they talking about? And it seems like when they say they are non-dual, it simply means that the shift in perspective, you don't feel like you are there, but you're still there. It's just that the sense of self is lessened, and it's something that happens. It can happen in many ways. You can have it if you go through, in the tradition I did, there's something called the jnanas, and you have the first cycle, you're a sotapanna, and it's like the first level of enlightenment. That tends to shift your perspective. I can no longer feel I am here watching there. Like I don't feel that perspective. But that can also happen through going through something difficult, or just randomly it happens. So they make that into something much bigger than it is, in my opinion, because they're still having loads of distortion, and they're still suffering, meaning they're not liberated, even though they call themselves enlightened, many. And the idea is, I have thought about this, and I think the philosophy is that we're all one. So like, there's no reason to be upset by anything. There's no reason to worry about anything, because we're all just one. And we're living in the delusion that we're all one. So you shouldn't be mean to others, you should be kind to others. It's like a modern take on karma. Karma basically says, well, whatever you do, you're going to get back. So you better be nice to other people, because you're actually going to hurt yourself. Because if I hurt you, I'll get it back through karma. It's kind of what non-duality is doing, because they're saying, oh, we're all the same, so if I do something bad, I'm actually hurting myself. But it's a softer, more nuanced way that I think suits modern society better. And it comes from a tradition called Advaita. And I think that the main thing that has become so popular is because it has to do with the mind. Meaning it goes into us, the sense of self, or the ego kind of thinks like, I am smart. I can figure this out. I just need to understand this stuff. And non-duality really is like the idea of understanding that we're all one, that it's concepts, and like trying to understand beyond concepts, which the idea that we're all one is a concept. It's also a concept. It's just a concept that has less distortion to it, but it is a concept and it has distortions. So I can see how non-duality can help a lot of people, and it seems to be like it's more practiced almost like a religion, and also a form of therapy. There's a lot of people who are helped by it, so there's some really good stuff in there. But the more I learn about it, the more I say, oh, wait a minute, they're really trying to think themselves out of the self, and I think that's why it's become so popular, because that's really, for us, we want to feel that we're smart, we can figure this out, and that gives you the ability to do that. I'm really simplifying here. Or actually, now when you say that, I just realized maybe you're not talking about the practice non-duality. Do you mean the experience of non-duality, which I call non-centricness? The reason I don't call it non-duality is because non-duality contains the concept that we're all one, and you're supposed to feel the pain of others, which is still a distortion. You just expand it as you just don't feel just you. When I say non-centricness, it means that you don't feel a centered point. There's nothing here reflecting, having a pressure towards the world, so you're moving around freely, you're liberated. And that is a truly remarkable way of interacting with the world. And everyone's had this. I mean, you've all had this to one degree or the other. It's just that we tend to not think about it so much because it doesn't create memories in the same way. Memories contain a lot of distortion, so we don't remember it in the same way that we have normal memories. Yeah, it's a bit different. So maybe I misunderstood you, and you actually spoke about the experience and not the practice non-duality. It's just that it's referred to that so often, so I might have misunderstood you. I think it's time for bed. I see, I meant the discussions about it, not the experience. Okay, yeah, then I was at least on the right topic. As always, really enjoy these discussions, and it's fun to hear other people's experience and how we view things, and trying to explain. I highly recommend you, if you have people you know who are into this, try to explain your way of viewing things. Because when you do, you have to stop and think like, hey, what do I actually think? What do I actually mean? What am I actually doing? Because you have to kind of get your perspective packaged so that you can deliver it to others. So it's a really good way of having conversations with others about this stuff is a good idea, is what I'm getting at. It's a good idea to have friends who you can talk to about this, or people around you who you can share your thoughts, because it's a lot to go around with by yourself. Since we're trying to change how we perceive, how we relate to the world around us, it's quite a big change we're moving towards. Have a good night, everyone, and a speedy recovery for you, Martin. Thank you. I wish everyone an amazing weekend, and I say it every time, but really think about what I said before. It might create some kind of distortion for a lot of people, because there's a lot of thoughts that go with this, but really happiness is a choice, and if you're not feeling happy, then what is it that's hindering you? And that's not to say that, oh, you're dumb, you should be feeling happy. That's to say, if you start looking why you're not allowing yourself to feel happy, you can actually change that. It's a long process, but gradually when you change the smaller things, your state of mind will be more fulfillment, more contentment, and more happiness. JVB, always the last question. Go ahead, JVB, a quick question. You always wait. I think you're too polite. You should just ask the questions directly. I'm really curious now, by the way. Is it a long one, JVB? Okay, here. Is it wrong to have a sense of identity with respect to the environment and people around you? Without a sense of self, how would we know who we are? So, identity is not the self. We identify with our identity. That's not the same as your idiosyncrasies or your way of acting. It's just that the words contain... This is where there's nuances to those words that we don't think about normally. So if you would meet me, or like I've been in non-centric states a lot of the time when I'm here talking, I am still Martin. Like the experiences that I've had in my life and my way of perceiving the world creates this kind of pattern for me to behave, and that's still there. It's just that it's not based on sense of self, meaning if I would have a sense of self when I'm here sitting here talking, it would be important for me that you perceive me a certain way. It would be important for me. I might have other agendas, meaning that I want to get something out of this. I want to boost my ego, or I want to help you because then I can feel better. I have something that I would, meaning that's the sense of self. So, but I genuinely believe in helping other people. I genuinely think that's an enjoyable thing to do, and I like doing that, and I like discussing these things. I like doing these things. My humor is terrible. And it's not better just because I don't have a sense of self. If anything, it gets worse because now I don't feel the shame of, oh my goodness, I shouldn't have said that, that's bad. I can say whatever I believe in. So it's not that the person you are, meaning the what's another word? Idiosyncrasies? Like the particular ways of your behavior doesn't disappear, but you don't identify with them, meaning like, oh, this feels safe, this is who I am. Because you always feel safe, you always feel here, and you can change that the whole time. And it might be that you realize, hey, wait a minute, the reason that I make all these jokes is because I feel so insecure that I feel I need to make jokes and make people laugh so they like me. And then you might stop doing that. Or you might say like, hey, that's really nice, I don't need to make these jokes, but I can make them anyway because I just like jokes. So it's not that you can't be who you are. If anything, you become more who you are because you're no longer ashamed. You no longer believe you need to act a certain way to be loved. But it also changes, meaning that if your actions were based on you needing to get something, meaning it's very difficult. If you hurt someone, or if you're a person who is mean to others, that means you're not feeling peaceful or calm inside, because someone who's happy and enjoying their life, there's no reason to steal from others or to hurt others or to like manipulate or be a mean person, because there's not a sense of self that needs to protect itself or that needs to hurt others to get something to make it feel different. You're already fulfilled. Why would you need to do that? Does that make sense? So no, and also don't think about it as right or wrong. It's just what you're experiencing. The worst thing you can do is to say, oh, it's wrong to have an identity, and then push it down. It's wrong to feel bad and then try to plaster happiness over it. We're really trying to let all these things come up and say like, hey, wait a minute, this hurts. Why am I doing this? So it's not about avoiding things. If anything, it's being raw, bare, naked, to the world, kind of, and I don't mean that physically, I mean naked as in our soul, or in our being. We are open. We don't have all these layers that protect us. We can't say what we believe in. We can't, like, because I'm so afraid of how people would judge me. Like, we are open to express who I am. And there will be people who you have around you that might think like, oh, I don't like you now because I liked it more when you said everything I did was amazing. And now you're saying what you believe in. And like, those are the kind of things that might change, but that's not really your identity. Unless your identity was based upon things that were really tied into your sense of self, either pushing it because you really had a strong sense of self or a very, very weak sense of self, then those things can disappear. I hope that answered it, and I'm looking forward to see everyone again on Monday. Have a great weekend. Thank you.